Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
Hey guys.
So yesterday we did a couple more in the series that is going to develop hopefully into something that people are going to find fascinating and enlightening, all about superhuman potential, because we are far more than they let us know. In fact, again, many people are waking up that we really can't trust much about the system that we're in. So there was two of them that we put up yesterday, a little bit over an hour's worth of education on some things that maybe people don't think about every day, like the fact that there's an energetic network very similar to our vascular network in the body, but it's just at a different density, and we are multidimensional beings. And, again, that cannot be understated. There's so much more to us than what meets the eye.
Indeed.
Okay, guys, so now that we've stated that, let's take a look at the chaos going on. Oh, man, a massive hailstorm hits Missouri, and the weather, it's just insane. Look at this. Look at this piling up on the outside on that deck. This is Missouri. These type of things are just happening all over the place in different ways. By the way, they're giving us a little tease here. This is supposed to be released. Let's see if this is going to amount to anything more than a hill of beans, or will it be a big reveal? President Trump saying all 80,000 JFK files will be released tomorrow, which is today, as this came out late last night. Let's see how much is redacted and how much is really going to shed light on things that perhaps the darkness doesn't want to be exposed.
I know, how many times have they told us, we're going to release this and we're going to release that, and how many times does it turn out to be just a nothing burger? So I'm not really holding my breath.
Well, yeah, that's like I keep saying, they keep throwing that carrot out there on a string and we keep running towards it, and okay, maybe this is the day. And after you've done this for probably 20 years or so, you just start to get cynical over it, and it happens when it happens. And so when I hear it now, I'm less excited. It's just like, all we need is one domino to fall for all the rest of the cards to come down, but we can never get to that point. It's always this, okay, tomorrow, and it's like, then it doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. Or they're like, oh, wow, it's up against national security, so therefore we can't do it. That old chestnut. Or you get all these papers of, 350 pages, and it's all black. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? There might be a date at the top or something like that. It's just, so I'm hopeful, and I hate to be so cynical, but hopefully it happens. We'll see.
I know, I'm kind of in the same place where we kind of watch, and maybe at some point there will be that turning of the tide, or maybe, the straw that breaks the camel's back. We will see.
Well, what we have is monumental change going on, but everything is still this dark matrix system. And that's the thing to realize, when you're talking about a system that thrives and literally feeds on misery, on warfare, on everything that we want to see washed away from the earth. You have to realize, that the system isn't going to willingly ever give away power. So it's about creating alternatives. It's about breaking things down into smaller pieces, because, again, the way that the few control the many is through these bigger and bigger power structures. So, dissolving away and then ultimately washing away the power structures has to be the goal for true change. And here we have a deadly cyclone hitting an African nation in Mozambique. 16 people have lost their lives at this point in time. And again, this was a huge, huge event. Over 300,000 people impacted, many people losing their homes, and again, crops washed away, livelihoods washed away, schools, classrooms, infrastructure, supply systems are going to be impacted. Everything that could impact the global situation when it comes to food production. And, again, the runaway inflation, when you're talking about basic goods, this is global. What we have going on is global. So, the realization of geoengineering and weather warfare, it's really settling in many people's minds. And many people are, waking up to a reality that could be very, very uncomfortable to recognize. This is Indonesia, and you see massive flooding over here. Again, we will have massive floods anywhere. Somewhere in the world is suffering at any time when it comes to massive floods. But this is everywhere all the time. It just doesn't stop. Extreme rainfall, extreme weather events. This is in Spain again. Which saw insane flooding. And again, we have family members here, the Evolutionary family, that's all over this area, for instance, all over the globe. So, we get to talk to people on a regular basis as we go through our regular weekly work of, again, everything from Vedic astrology, charts, spiritual coaching, energy body alignments, etc., and get to talk to them about what they are experiencing. And this is very, very real. This is the reality. This is max velocity. Again, I think there are certain things that when you are a weather forecaster, you're told you have to skirt around and try to avoid. But Max has come out many times, and you can tell that he knows what's going on. I mean, he's not going to come out and say, this is, the result of modifications being done by corporations and governments. Yet at the same time, absolutely, this is not usual. And he says one of the deadliest tornado outbreaks in recent years took place over the last 3 days, with over 47 fatalities, 66 tornadoes, at least 7 EF3s and 2 EF4 tornadoes. This is going to go down as a historic tornado outbreak. Yet the likelihood is, if things keep going on this trajectory, it might not make the top 10 in like another handful of years. And that really is the reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a big mess out there, and it's just getting messier. And every day you hear, wow, there's breaking records, and we had a lot of family members were affected this time, and we sent out a lot of prayers, and we did a video sending out prayers for people's angels to step in. Please step in and help people. I mean, that's what we can do. So sometimes you're not able to physically be there to help people, but our energy makes a difference. And when we come online and we do a live and we say, hey guys, let's come together and help, people show up.
Yeah, and it makes a difference. So every time I see anything major out there as far as the weather, I think, is this natural or geoengineering? And it's unfortunate that you even have to think that way. But I mean, you could have a better understanding, or maybe have your finger on the pulse of the world. Is the earth really changing in these times, like back in the day? You look at all the ancients and how they talked about how these events, and plus the psychics that are talking about the events that are about to happen. And, when you see this happen, then well, now you don't know, is this a natural event that's the earth is actually shaking and throwing off some fleas like a dog would, to heal herself? Or is this just manipulation of the weather to create, more? And you guys have to realize that when there's a creation of some of this stuff, there's anguish and misery, and there's low vibration. And, look up Loosh, because there's an energy from a higher dimension that these higher dimensional beings are sucking off of us. They're literally energy vampires. And so they're like a parasite. Parasites do what parasites do, and but there's a creation of lower vibrational energy that, because we are all co-creators, and we can be on a high positive side and feed ourselves and our loved ones, or if we get so depressed and so low, we get a dis-ease with it, and with what that comes with is attachments and things that are, again, energy vampires that are sucking off of your energy.
And you can get that from other people too. So it's very important to be very mindful about who is close to you, and make sure you're with those who are going to uplift you and not pull you down.
All you have to do too is try to work, because again, I know you guys, as we tend to not be allowed to reach new people unless the regulars are sticking these videos everywhere they can, like again, Reddit and all the different forums out there. Before it's news. We've tried so hard, but we're just so ostracized. And when I make comments as evolutionary, those comments don't ever really get put out there. They just have us on an auto ban. So you could see this article from 1959. Senator predicts weather warfare to be effective. Yeah, Senator Clinton P. Anderson, Democrat from New Mexico, says weather warfare may someday be more effective than missiles in bringing a nation to its knees. Weather warfare could be so applied that the operator modifications could not only damage his opponents and escape undamaged himself. This will change warfare as we know it, and this is what we're watching. This has been going on. It's again, this is January 23rd, 1959. That's a long time ago. That's like 65, 66 years ago. It was right out there, printed in the newspaper. There are so many declassified patents going back into the 1890s on weather warfare. It's really, we understand what's going on. And then you have Make Sunsets. This is the name of a startup corporation, independently launching thousands of pounds of poisonous sulfur dioxide into our skies to dim the sun and cool the earth. Yeah, privately held. Yeah, venture capital backed. This is how they do it. And these companies might come up, and as soon as things get a little shaky and the eyes are starting to look closely, they'll disappear. It doesn't really matter. This is, again, how they manage the system, and they literally use often our own blood, sweat, and tears, our own tax dollars, to then wash away our property, our cars, our homes, our loved ones. This is as disturbingly twisted as you can imagine, but this is the reality. This is the reality. And so, it's something to recognize.
Mm-hmm. It is. What else can you do? You can send out the prayers, you send out the energy. And it is really important if you guys are able to stick these videos places, because we're not reaching new people. It's like the slow choking of a snake, and it's very, very unpleasant. And we do rely on those who are still with us to push these videos out, and it will help. It absolutely helps. If we get it in one slot, you'd be surprised at how many people come up and become more supportive. So just one move can really help us a lot.
Yeah, so as you're an onlooker to all these things, and I don't always want to be doom and gloom. In fact, I'm the opposite. I want to be positive. But the reality is, there it is in our faces. When you see it, there it is. What can you do? So, now it's all about solution. What can we do? What can one poor little me, like, you can either be the victim, or you could actually go out there and do something about it for yourself. What can you do in your way? And you can only do the best that you can do. Like, we went grocery shopping the other day, and it was like a shock. And I get people that are saying, like, I can't afford to pay for the organic. I get it. Believe me, I'm looking at it going, how in the heck are people surviving? It's like, it's amazing. Just the food that isn't organic, how the price of that, and then you almost double it in some cases, or maybe even more. And so the old thought that was taught to me years and years ago is, what are you willing to give up? So, and I have had this discussion with a lot of my patients over the years. Like, I see the cigarette packet in your pocket right there, and you're telling me you can't afford whatever. Like, how much is a pack of cigarettes today? And how many of those do you smoke a day? Or I see the ring that's in your pocket. Oh, so you choose snuff. There's some bad habits. How much beer do you drink? How much, what are you willing to give up for your health and to change your ways to a point where you can be at a higher vibration? So yeah, it's either you shut everything off and you don't look at anything and you try to keep to yourself and, raise your vibration that way. Or if you still want to be curious and be like, all right, what's going on in the world so I know how to pivot, what can you do so it doesn't affect you as much? Like Mike and Cindy, they do mantras every day, maybe a couple times a day. There's meditation. There's things that you can do for your own body, like Reiki energy, Qigong. And again, you can do a lot of these things yourself. You don't have to pay all the time. I mean, who heals the healers? I get that a lot. Like, I used to get in the interviews like, well, where do you go? Who do you follow? Because if you're given this information, how do you get inspired? And there are other healers that are out there that come and, at the right time, at the right place, you just meet these people when you're asking. So the other thing is we live in this world of cause and effect, and we live in a free world society, so you have to ask for your higher self, your angels, guides, whatever, to come in and believe it. And then you can be planting your own garden, and I know a lot of people are like, I'm in an apartment. I'm like, well, I've seen these micro growing stacks of I don't even know what they call them these days, but it's literally micro growing. But you can have herbs and all kind of different things that you can supplement your life with, and surround yourself with like-minded people. And I might be speaking to the choir with this group of people that we're talking to right now, but if we're reaching anybody else, or plant a seed by telling your family just a little bit. I mean, you got to have your discernment about how far to go. When you get into the ET realm and all this, sometimes people are like, oh my God, that's too far. So again, you got to use your discernment and maybe just say, well, did you ever look up at those planes? And I know they're saying they're contrails, but sit here for a minute and watch this, and watch how it dissipates into a cloud cover that all of a sudden becomes a weather manifestation.
Well, and I was planning on doing a full video for like alternatives and stuff and inspiration. But again, I'll bring up Dave in UK, our brother. I mean, this is a man that's on like a very limited income. I'm not sure what it is, but I know it amounts to way less than the poverty level. I mean, it really is minimal that he's on, because he's faced challenges in his life and he's had health issues, and he lives in an apartment and he grows most of his food. And he's found a way to get a piece of land that he works and has developed it into an amazingly productive piece of land through a co-op. I mean, this is inspiration. So, when people say there's no way I could eat organic or no way I can do this, he's in an apartment building, and you should see he's got plants growing, like pepper plants growing in boots, and tubs and all sorts of things. I mean, he's an amazing inspiration. It's where there's a will, there's a way. And so often people will use, I just can't do it. How could I possibly do it? Just rationalizing, not giving something a try. The times that are coming directly ahead, we're going to be challenged. We are going to be challenged, and we're going to have to think outside the box. And yeah, absolutely. Here it's March 18th. I'm feeling a ton of pressure right now that we got to get some stuff growing. Because, again, it's coming. It really is coming. And I do think even perhaps as early as April, we'll be faced with major challenges. Meanwhile, just look at what's going on. Germany pledges hundreds of millions to Syrian regime, despite what is being stated from many, many sources as atrocities going on in Syria now that there's a vacuum. So, obviously, a lot to be left desired with the Bashar Assad regime, but now that it's not in place, there's this rampant lawlessness, which this is going to happen to most of the world to a degree. As the power structures, again, there's really, you're not going to get the greatest change with the geopolitical structure that's been in place. And they will all change pretty much. Everything's going to be changed to a degree. Yet, that change is going to come with serious issues and challenges. And here, you have, again, sectarian violence going on between, again, different religions, different branches of the same religion even. We've seen war between the Sunni and the Shia in Islam. We've had wars between Protestants and Catholic, the Pope and the Vatican. These things have gone on forever. Religion has been, unfortunately, used so often as a tool of division instead of unification, or again as a tool of unification, but at the threat of either burning at the stake or burning forever in hell. Again, when you look to what does life look like in a golden age, it's understanding that one size does not fit all, that we're all unique creators and should always be free to make our own decisions. Being forced at the point of a sword with the threat of beheading, or being forced with crucifixion, like the Romans used crucifixion. It wasn't just the one that we've come to know as Jesus that was crucified. No, this was one of their forms of crucifixion forms of execution that they used all throughout all the Roman Empire. Again, these different tools that they used to conform. And to me, the very idea of what is hell? Well, have you ever been on hold waiting for a human? That's like being in purgatory at the very least, if not hell, when you're trying to get through. There's something major going wrong, and you're trying to get through and actually talk to a human being, and you can't. All you get is this stupid AI over and over, the stupid, computer voice, and you're just like, get me a person to talk to. Can you imagine signing on to that for eternity? Oh, God, no. I'll listen to the birds and their song over that droning music that they play when you're on hold for whatever it is, It's just, Joe's giggling, but it's so true.
It is. It's true. And we have a decision to make when it comes to AI right now. It's like, how far are you going to go with that? And they're trying to make it so that AI is... you can't live without it. That's what they're doing. That's what they did with the technology. And I'm treading very carefully in that area because I don't want to get caught up in it. I know that this is my line. I'm drawing my own line with the AI, and but it's coming at people so heavy, so fast, and it's making everyone's life supposedly easier, but it's just kind of sinking us a little bit.
Well, like everything else in the world, because we live in polarity, there's good and bad for all this stuff. So, I haven't, let's see, I used it the other day just because I had a question in my mind. I thought, I wonder how this works. And again, it was like I had to sit there and actually think, do I actually want to go down this path and even try it? And I'm like, over all these years that I've been trying to put out all this truth, I had to experience some of this stuff so I could speak intelligently about it and not have a judgment biased on one extreme. And so I thought, okay, well, at least I'll go out there and I'll try to, because everybody's saying how crazy, what's the word? I mean, it's shocking how quick, like when you type in a question, before you're even done with the question, it's almost like within a second, there's like 4 or 5 paragraphs or something that comes up from AI. And I'm like, whoa, that is actually amazing. And gives you insights on various things. And I'm like, okay, I can see the draw here. I mean, it's instant gratification, which everybody's been programmed now at this particular point. And so, yeah, AI, again, it could be good or bad. And I mean, it's showing you the truth on a lot of these movies that we watch.
Oh, yeah.
And so...
Yeah, it's kind of amazing how they give us so much in these movies. It's just, again, kind of mind-boggling. And yet, I think some of it's the fact that they're like, here's something we really should keep quiet, but it's right out here in the open. And I think also it's just kind of an ego thing with them. It's almost like, here we go. We're going to, admit to this, admit to that. And it's not going to matter because most of them, it's going to go right over their heads. They won't recognize this is actually literally happening. When we look to this, no more peace over in Gaza, as over 400 people are no longer on the 3D plane of existence, operating in their vehicles that they were, getting at birth. This is so sad, and it's amazing how, these numbers on one side, this has been going on since, 1948. It just is, it's almost like overlooked, and yet it's a huge, horrible thing that is just ongoing. The reality is it's all part of a bigger vision, a greater vision for, I'll use that term, for the real situation. Look to, we know where conflict's going to be because all you got to do is look at those maps that were drawn out. And so, expect there to be issues in Egypt with, the eastern portion of Egypt to somehow eventually come under the control and power of that one country that we're talking about there in the Middle East, from the Nile east, because that's the way the map is drawn, and then all the way out to the Euphrates in Iraq, and of course that would be also the entirety of Jordan, as there is what going on right now, some exchanges between even Syria, or what's left of Syria, and Jordan, and Lebanon as well. This is that's going to be where, that's going to be one spot where the bigger war is going to take place. And that could be happening right now as we're talking. So, we are praying for peace. We're asking for peace again. We have to get so beyond these labels. When people say they're proud, they're a blank, whatever that is, fill in the label. By using these labels and dividing ourselves, we're falling right into the script of the real controllers. So, that country is striking Lebanon, Syria, and Gaza, and the U.S. has been bombing Yemen again and sailing 3 aircraft carriers towards Iran. It's getting ready to be go time. And, it's looked like go time many other times. But then again, this is the year that's been set apart by multiple things, from, again, the DEA, GEL numbers, to, we were talking about the Roddy Piper movie, They Live, said, well, in the year 2025, this is a key year. And why? Well, what we've gotten, again, is that there are much bigger treaties that end up, being open to renegotiation, so to speak, with the real power structure that's been in place in this quarantine zone. So, in case you missed it, 47 declares that the auto pen signed pardons are void. Yeah, because it turns out there might have only been one document in the last 4 years that was actually signed. It just said it's just an auto pen. Yeah, the illusion. Who was really running a show? Well, it was never and it still isn't ever really the actual people that we see. These are, again, figureheads for public consumption. The real power structure likes to stay hidden in the shadows. And we had done a video a long time ago called, The Last Dijiji, as there was a non-Homo sapien 3, a triumvirate of these beings that was really controlling things here in the quarantine zone for quite a while, and then two left their physical existence, and there was one left, and that one was on life support, because very much like the Dark Lord of the Sith from Star Wars. Again, they kind of give us everything in the powers in the videos that really is the reality. So all these pardons are null and void. So this is huge, because remember, this is everybody from the sickle maker to, there were so many pardons out there. How many pardons was there? I forget. There was hundreds, right? Anyway, this is really interesting to see all this go down. And yet there's so much that we understand has to transpire. The real freedom is outside of this system. It really is, and we can't, most people can't even envision it. And we're told things like, the thought of anarchy. What is anarchy? It's lawlessness and violence. And no, it just simply means there's no central authority that's ruling over every little detail of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you were talking about 2025 and how this is the year, and, various predictions. And, one of the things that triggered in my brain was like, forever, and I mean back to the king and queen days, they've used astrologers. And what does that mean? What planetary alignments? And so when you can see that they use symbolism, and they have psychics or mediums, whatever you want to call these special people. So I know Cindy knows a lot about astrology, so she would be better to speak on this. But my friend Terry, she had an astrologer, and then she became one. And so June was her name. And so I actually got a reading from June a couple times. And she's probably, she's got to be in her 80s right now. And she used to do it, and I think she still does, on the old cassette tape. So she would record herself giving you a reading for your birth date and all that, and then you'd get it. She first of all, she'd tell you over the phone, and then she would mail you that, so that you'd always have it to go back to. And I'll tell you what, just an individual person that kind of drills down to you specifically, it is amazing the information that comes through that tells you who you are and why you are and all this. But on a more global scale, when you see 2025 and what is going on and what is expected to happen because of the planetary alignments, and we're always talking about energy. And so I'll let Cindy speak more about it, but I really believe that, if you were to talk to an astrologer for your own personal readings or for the global thing, like what's going on this year? Why is it touted to be the year of years and all this stuff? Because we've heard this all before. Yeah. Well, again, these leaders, they use all the tools that they have available to them. Of course, now they have AI. They got these supercomputers that bang out these, well, let's see, if the U.S. goes to war with another country, just pick one. What does that look like? Who wins that? And I mean, it's amazing what comes out of some of these things. So I guess I'll let Cindy talk about the astrology part of this.
It's amazing to watch what happens astronomically, and then you see them ramping something up. So in certain areas, Mars might be overriding in a certain area, and it's like they'll do something to hopefully trigger something and gain momentum to start a war. And I see this constantly. So I know that every individual area has their own placements, and I do believe that they use that for their advantage. Like if they're going to start something, it's like, oh, let's make sure and we do this when Mars is in a place where it's going to, somebody's going to make a mistake, somebody's going to trip, somebody's going to fall, somebody's emotionally going to snap. They do this all the time. So you really would, Mars would be the one for each individual place to watch. And they would want Mars in probably a very angry, precarious situation. But we also look to Saturn and the moon because that can bring people down in their vibration. And when they're down in their vibration, they're more apt to act on the things. So the people, the controllers, they set it up for them and just let the people do the things.
Yeah, maybe you could talk a little bit about like contracts and say Mercury retrograde and stuff like that. How they actually look at that kind of thing too.
Yeah, they definitely do. Confusion is a lot of fun. So like I said, they like to set the stage for a mistake to happen. And when Mercury is in retrograde, well, somebody might accidentally hit this button and not that button. Somebody might turn left instead of right, and you have an accident on your hands, and you have miscommunication, and that can trigger a war as well. And we're right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I do find it interesting, too, that, in the past few weeks, Cindy and I have both been delving deep. She's been taking class after class in astrology, and I've been digging through all my Qigong and Tai Chi and energy working materials to go to like a new level. So we both have kind of like refocused on this aspect because, again, it's said that millionaires pay attention to astrology and billionaires Vedic astrology because, again, it has the tilt of the earth, the true position of all the heavenly bodies, so to speak. And we're going to do a video on EE Arts going into a little bit more as I'm looking. Cindy has on her computer there are 16 charts up, and so there's 16 charts with the positions of the planets. Each one of the 16 charts has 12 houses or 12 boxes, and then there's a couple other charts that she uses in addition. So there's a wealth of information to be gleaned. And Germany over here is recruiting Afghan migrants as mercenaries for Ukraine. I'm sure you guys can understand that when you're bringing these people in, there's multiple things going on here that are not good. I mean, the entire concept of war to me is just insane. It's really insanity that we don't always see. Again, in a golden age, you just don't see this type of thing occurring, or even in the silver. But if you're bringing in people that may actually have an allegiance elsewhere into your own military, then it's the possibility that you may actually have people that are armed all of a sudden turning the guns on their own fellow soldiers, so to speak. This gets me thinking about one of Christoph, the Polar Psychic's visions recently, and I do think he sees multiple timelines. He does see one in which what Europe seems to be under the control of is definitely an Islamic regime, and the old Europe is no more. But I think that's one timeline, because I think he's also gotten things that are very, very different than that. And there's all these possibilities out there. Meanwhile, you have a French politician demanding the Statue of Liberty back. The U.S. no longer deserves it, he says. Wow, okay, because the U.S. no longer has those ideals. What we see with the Statue of Liberty is really a reference. Again, I recognize there's all these different articles that have been written out there, esoteric traditions. Some will equate the Statue of Liberty with even Lucifer, but in reality, what we're talking about is, in my mind, the fact that the Earth was Tiamat and has been reborn, as whatever we want to call Earth, Gaia, again, whatever terms are comfortable for you. And it's a refugee planet. We are a refugee planet. Life has been seeded here from all over the place, and we should recognize that. So when we see constant migrations, the system uses it to their advantage. But the reality is, yeah, a lot of people migrated here looking for peace from elsewhere. Meanwhile, Canadian department store blames America as it liquidates all remaining locations, lay off thousands. Well, we talked about Hudson Bay Company. This is a 350-ish year old company that was used to basically take advantage, in my mind, of the natural resources and utilize it for the wealthy bankers and again the geopolitical situation as the European colonialism took over Canada and again all of the United States. So I wouldn't cry about them closing down. What we have to do is think bigger than this. And people, obviously, losing their jobs is never good. But then again, I don't really think colonialism is any good either. So this is what we're facing. And then you have BlackRock has just bought $1.4 billion worth of UK homes. All of our homes in UK are being bought up by these multinationals. And, these, big corporations. Somebody made a comment once saying, well, BlackRock is everybody's retirement, retirement kitty, so to speak. Well, again, that's part of it. Sure, they're an investment company, which many people have their life savings tied up in. But the reality is that's just the system using, again, everybody for themselves. When you get down to BlackRock, do you really, as an investee, control it? I mean, you have maybe your 401k or your IRA or retirement money in there, but I really think they're going to pull the rug out from everybody. I think they have it planned totally, that they are planning on pulling the rug out and again getting people to conform to the plans of the system, which is always going to be about making more and more consolidation of power in the hands of the few at a time when we have to do just the opposite. We need to take control back as far as the many.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah, so this goes to solutions again. It's like, what can people do, which we did talk a little bit earlier in the show. What came to mind is a new way of thinking, or an old way of thinking, actually. I mean, if you go back to barter, like when we started out, like, what can you do? Because really it's all about energy exchange. What can I do for you and what can you do for me type of a thing, rather than the monetary, like, I'm going to do this and you give me money so I can go do what I want to do with that particular money. But and I'm going to give an example here so it's easy for people to remember. We in Pennsylvania, we have a lot of Amish and a lot of farming, and they do a lot of construction. And recently I've developed a relationship with various Amish over the years, but more recently this one gentleman, he had a Ford tractor, an older tractor, and he was sitting there working on it whenever I pulled in, and I was there to get some eggs. And he didn't know how to he was working on it, but he wasn't a mechanic, so he didn't know exactly what was wrong. And I went through, the various things, whether it be, is it your spark plugs, is it your air filter, is it the carburetor? Most likely it's probably the carburetor. But as I'm going through all this, I could have taken that off and taken it home. And even though I couldn't have rebuilt that carburetor, my brother-in-law is a mechanic. And so the barter could be something as simply as like, you know what? And he actually asked me, he goes, wow, you seem to know a lot about it. I said, well, just the general, I've tinkered with things my whole life. But I knew 100% my brother-in-law could have easily rebuilt that for him. So what could I have done? And I actually did this. Again, I don't give medical advice, but just as a general discussion to him about the medical, like, basically, if you were my patient, this is how I would do this. And so for that, I would say, yeah, I'd sit here and have a discussion for you so you could have a general idea about the medical and what you could do for your family in, say, this specific circumstance. And for that, oh, hey, how about I give you a chicken for that information? Or how about I give you a couple dozen eggs so that you rebuild this carburetor? And I'm thinking, okay, well, I'll give my brother-in-law 1 dozen eggs for the rebuild because I'm the contact and I'm driving 45 minutes to an hour to go get these eggs and transport the carburetor back and forth. Plus, I had to stop at Napa to get the rebuild kit, et cetera, et cetera. So again, the reason I'm bringing this up is I'm not only giving you examples, I'm practicing what I'm telling you. The barter system really works. And, what do you have to offer? What are you skilled at? Or do you know somebody? Like I'm sitting there thinking over in my mind, like, well, even if I can't do this, here I am going out there to get eggs. Wow, this guy's got holes in his trousers, so to speak. And yeah, they can fix all that themselves usually. But just generally speaking, for your neighbors, I know my mom can sew. She has a sewing machine, which, it's an art that has been lost over the years. Could she sew this up so that they don't have to go spend $100 on a pair of Levi's or something like that? And for that, I go get it. And my mom does the work. She sews it. I take it back. We get a dozen eggs or 2 dozen eggs or a chicken or whatever it is. You have to think outside the box these days. And this is just old school stuff that has been going on centuries before we come up with this monetary thing. And so I'm just trying to give you solutions and ideas. Again, barter is a really great way of, if you don't have the money with this organic stuff, create some kind of exchange, just the thought, just the idea of what can you do for other people and they can in return do something for you type of a thought.
Yeah. So, that takes me back to Dave. And, Dave in the UK, he didn't buy a piece of property. But, again, if you farm it and stuff, then you give somebody 10% of everything that you grow. There you go. That's exactly what they do, So when you look at the system, and again, people are recognizing, why is this Mark Carney guy going to be taking over from Trudeau? Is there any difference? No. I mean, it's just, the only difference is superficial because, again, they're all members of the few. They're all on the same agenda, and what about, free elections? Well, Canada's never belonged to Canadians. This is the thing to realize, not that the U.S. has belonged to us either, whatever we want to label ourselves. And then people are terrified to think of a world without borders. And every time that we get excited about creating a new border, they get excited because it's a new opportunity. Yet we have that fear of a one world order, but it's been here for thousands of years. It's just worked on the illusion of division. Alex Collier, in one of his 1996 conferences, described how a dimensional collapse has already begun, marked by changes in sound and color. Mentioned that people would soon start hearing about rods, streaks of light captured in video. According to him, these were etheric fourth and fifth dimensional craft moving through space, unaware they're passing right through our dimension. He explained this is a sign of ongoing implosion between dimensions. I didn't show this to Cindy, but yeah, we have gotten that there is a dimensional merge underway at this point in time.
You don't need any special equipment to start seeing this. So if you just have your iPhone and your thumb, and you put your thumb up and you cover the sun, and you can videotape near the sun, you can see these little creatures, and they're actually up there playing. You can see all of these elementals. We can see it now. And people are becoming more and more sensitive. And there was someone that was talking about their awakening in 2020 22, and they said it just happened so extremely fast. It's like they didn't have a choice, but all the information came pouring in. Plus, they were so curious. Plus, they just knew that this world was far different, and it was almost traumatic for them how quickly that awakening happened. So when we have these new energies coming in from the sun, people are affected. People are very much affected, and they go through an awakening, which can be traumatic. You know, it does help to get guidance, have somebody to talk to, a friend, just somebody trusted, because it's hard to go out there and find one of those professionals and explain to them what's going on and have them accept and understand what you're saying without offering you some sort of treatment.
And, you know, he also talked about the appearance of fully formed reptiles, birds, mammals, etc. on Earth. Obvious, it's a seeding and colonization program. There was the natural, and then there was the dark matrix and the Kali Yuga that did its thing. Primates, monkeys brought to Mars, he said, and then to Earth by the Draconians and Orion explorers. Genetically created in laboratories on ships. Yeah, absolutely. You know, this is all part of that big reveal. Alex Collier and David Icke, you know, were definitely forerunners in so many ways. Now you have so many people that are getting this information because we are coming online and we're able to directly channel more and more information to fill in the gaps. And, you know, again, this is why there's so much that just doesn't make sense in the official history. Only 20 minutes in the sunshine per day triggers your body to release over 200 antimicrobials that fights fungus, parasites, and viruses. Yeah, sunshine definitely heals, and this is why they want you lathering on all sorts of chemicals to keep you away from that DNA triggering sun. And then this just shows if cats and dogs can get along, of course all we can. You know, even though all of humans don't necessarily come from just one stock, we are all from many different places. And so you have Lyrans here, you have Syrians here, Pleiadians, etc., etc. Yeah, some reptilian lineage too. Again, we are certainly mongrels when you get down to it. We are mutts, and that's okay.
We're definitely mixed, but you know, for me, the rule of thumb usually is if I can't eat it, I don't want it on my skin because my body is going to have to process it just as if I'm eating it. So we need to kind of keep that in mind when we're putting things on our skin. But yeah, I mean, we're going through a lot of change. It's very exciting. We need to find different ways to get along. We need to find different ways how we can work with people, like Joe was talking about. Find those things that you can do, work with people. And there's a need and a desire for people to want to work together too. So that want has to be there, and that need, it's like, I really do need this and I really do want that. And then people come, they work with each other back and forth.
Yeah, so we've been programmed so many different ways, but if you just look at the necessities of life, what do you need in order to survive during, you know, these times? And give up some of the things you just don't need. It's really not that important. You can kind of, you know, prioritize what really is not that important. And, you know, I think that's going to be our way forward. And tolerance to other people's belief systems. Because over the years, I've noticed that I might not have believed what somebody was saying, but, you know, fast forward a few years and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, that's what they were talking about. They planted a seed, and then I kind of flowered over. It wasn't such a shock to me whenever it was really in my face. And I think we're all seed planters in our own right. And we can all get along. We can, you know, it's all about tolerance. But we've been programmed to be up against each other, whether it be religion or language, or there's all these barriers that were put in place for that purpose. And if you consider that and you put it into your brain and go, oh, is this one of those control things? Like, why am I getting triggered by this? This doesn't even make sense. Oh, it's some inner programming that I've had. So let me release that so we can all get along.
Mm-hmm. And so Cindy's going to give us a ding as we go out here. And we want to, as always, thank everybody for their support. Come join us over on Patreon. Again, exclusives going up there, usually multiple times each week. And Cindy is going to give us a tune to help tune our energy bodies. May you all be blessed, happy, and free.
Here we go. Find a happy thought. Okay, you guys drink plenty of water. Think happy thoughts.
Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste.